Hi, my name is Paola, and I'm going to talk about these two awesome comics, Supergirl and Mrs. Marvel. Well, as I already mentioned, these two comics are just awesome. Both heroes are women, well, they are heroes, and they search for justice to all cost. But what about the art of the comic? Let's start with Mrs. Marvel. In this comic, we can see how the illustrator decided to use light colors like pastel to create a sense of stressful environment or an not comfortable environment, an uncomfortable environment. Also, we can see how in some panels the illustrator used calm colors like blue to create a sense of calm and to tell that nothing important or intense is happening in that scene. What about the drawings? Well, they are realistic, but not as realistic as a real human, and detail, but not in all panels. In some panels, as the ones in Supergirl, the illustrators didn't use too much detail because they didn't focus like on that special thing, like an upper view where the detail is not necessary or just not important because the scene doesn't tell us anything too important that needs to be part of the story and it's priority. Also, in Mrs. Marvel, we can see how the panels are not that big or not that little. They are like a medium size, but all the panels are like that. Some other panels, we can see how they bleed out, and that's to focus on that exact moment because it's a really important moment for the comic. Now let's go with Supergirl. The art is really intense. As we can see in the picture, they use bright colors. They use blue, orange, red, yellow, that usually are bright colors if you don't use it like a tone, like pastel, like in Mrs. Marvel. Also, as I already mentioned, we can see that in some areas it includes detail, but not in all areas. Also, we can see that in some of the panels there's a calm moment where they use blue and white to make the sense that it's a calm moment and it doesn't need to be that intense like in other parts, like if it was a fight. And so the size of the panels, it's not too big, not too small, but we can see how sometimes in the comic the panels are little and are inside other panels or just bleed out or are two full pages. So the art is very different, in some aspects similar like in the panels, but it's different. Light colors and pastel colors in Mrs. Marvel, bright colors and intense colors in Supergirl to make different emotions like stress, calm, or intense feelings. Now let's go with the hero area, with the hero aspects of both heroes. Supergirl is a more destructive hero and uses mostly her emotions like anger to fight with the villains, with the bad guys, and takes it more personal than external intentions. But let's not forget about the good things. She uses empathy, but it's not the trait she's most focused on. Also, as in Mrs. Marvel, she searches for justice and helps everyone. But in Mrs. Marvel, she focuses on the trait of empathy and brave. But she is a different person when she's a hero and when she's just Kamala. For example, we can see how in this picture in Mrs. Marvel, Kamala, Mrs. Marvel, saves the mean girl at her school, even though she's the mean girl, and feels more sure about herself when she is Mrs. Marvel than she is Kamala. By the other side, in Supergirl, we can see in this picture how when she tries to save some civils from the train explodes, and that is destruction. And in some other panels, we can see how in the fights she uses more her emotions because of revenge or because it takes it personal, her anger, and fights with it. And let's say that's not a good thing. She uses more her emotions than her thinking. So we can say that each hero, Mrs. Marvel focuses more on the empathy and being who she is, and Supergirl more in saving people and fighting against the bad guys, also causing more destruction and fighting sometimes with her emotions like anger. Now let's talk about what the message of these comics is, what they leave us to think about. In Supergirl, she has more trouble fighting without using her emotions, but we can't forget that she helps everyone, even though they come from a different place or they are a different person. She doesn't judge us who they are or where they come from or anything. She just helps them because that's the correct thing to do, like every hero would do. But that's the focus that the comic gives us. In other side, there's Mrs. Marvel, that's more about religion and finding who she is. She focuses more on finding the justice in all the fights, like trying to save the people, trying to make justice, and don't let bad guys only out there in the streets. That's why she wants to become a hero. But also we can see how she fights with herself to find who she is. While being Kamala, she is more shy, she doesn't make the things how she wants to make them, and when she's Mr. Marvel, she's all she wants to be. She's who she wants to be. So you can see in these pictures how she saves people when she's Mrs. Marvel and how she panics when she is only Kamala. In conclusion, Supergirl is more focused on fighting the bad guys and making justice, and Mrs. Marvel also making justice, but more focuses on who she is and the people she's saving. In conclusion of all these, we can see how both comics have their similarities and their differences, and that makes each comic and each hero unique, even though they are similar in some aspects like hero, message, or art. Each type of art, each type of hero, each type of comic is made for a type of reader who interests more in that message or more in that art or hero. So we can conclude that both are unique comics and really good comics. Thank you for hearing, and I hope you like.